Hello, everybody. Happy Monday to you. So good to see so many of you popping in the comments right now. Welcome to this month's Creative Manifesto session. So first off, for those of you that have joined me in the past for these monthly sessions, usually they're a little earlier in the month. However, we had a holiday here in the US on the first Monday of September. And then we've just been kind of busy at sketchbook school these days. We've got workshops happening and all sorts of events, and it's been a little chaotic, but here we are. And even though it's midway through the month, I'm hoping that you are all here to sit down for a second and take a moment to think about what you want to focus on for the month of September for your creative goals. And for some of you that sat down to think about this a couple weeks ago, this is a time for you to check in on those goals and think about progress that you've made, or maybe how you want to readjust your goals, or what you want to do for the remaining weeks of this month so that you can use that time effectively and make some progress. So thank you to those of you that are joining me right now. I see we've got Karen from LA. Hope it's not too smoky for you, Karen, right now. Missy is here. Mitzi is here. We've got Heather. Corinne is here. Marcel, Mary, excellent. Margaret is here. Gina is checking in from Florida. Beautiful down there. Holly, Joy, Karen, Marnie, Gail is here, Kathy is here. It's so great to see all of you. So for those of you that are new to this Creative Manifesto session, the point of these brief little broadcasts that I host are to give you a chance to think about your goals for the month. And what I want to do is, and we'll go through this and I'll set a timer here in a little bit, I want you to have something to write with right now in a sketchbook, or even just a post-it note or something that you can keep handy at your desk. But oftentimes we'll do these in a sketchbook. So if you're watching right now, I would love if you had a sketchbook that you're working in, preferably one with a good chunk of pages left in it, and then something to write with. So what I want to do first is I want to just show you some examples of what people have done for this session in the past and different ways to think about your creative manifesto for the month of September. So the idea behind a creative manifesto is really just taking a few moments pause to think about what you want to accomplish this month. Now, for some students and artists, this can mean making a laundry list of to-dos and activities that you want to accomplish, whether it's a number of drawings or a new skill or trying something specific out when it comes to your new tools. Other people like to just pick a word or a theme to focus on for the month. So that can be a little more general and maybe less stressful than coming up with a to-do list. So it's totally up to you how you want to handle this. But I'll show you a couple examples of what this can look like in your sketchbook. And then we're going to take some time and actually do this together here in a moment. But this is an example. So Jesus, an artist in our community, this is what she wanted to focus on for the month. She's focusing on a season of creation, jubilee for the earth, new rhythms, and hope. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, and I think that Jesus is kind of responding to that in her creative manifesto. Another student, Celeste, she kind of just had a little bit of a quote and sort of a mantra for the month, and she just wrote to just keep swimming. So she used her a little inspiration from Finding Dory, but kind of just gave herself some reminders of things to remember for the month of September. So this can also just be a way for you to come up with a quote or something that you want to remind yourself of as the month goes on in your creative journey and also in your life. Some of these things can apply to your broader life picture and not just the pages of your sketchbook. Another student, Shannon, did something a little more practical, and she just made herself a to-do list that she could revisit and, check off and return to, week after week. So for her, she wrote a to-do list of things that she wanted to finish and things that she wanted to explore, and also things that she wanted to think about. So if you're more of a list person or a bullet journal, notebook kind of person, it might make more sense for you to just come up with a list of things to do, and then that might be how your brain works, and that's great. So you can also do that for your creative manifesto. And another student, Hera, kind of did a mixture. So she came up with a manifesto. This is hers from the month of August. And it's quite a to-do list here on the right page. But she also embellished it and made it a really beautiful spread in her sketchbook. So I love how Hera kind of jazzed this up a little bit. I think it's a lovely sketchbook page, and it's also got some really good reminders and some quotes that she can use to kind of stay inspired and stay motivated. So I want you to think about all these different ways of coming up with creative goals. And I think there's the importance of having goals each month. It's not to become a professional artist with a capital A and show your work in the Metropolitan Museum, but this is really just about improving and making progress and sticking with your creative journey. And I think that that's really important for all of us to focus on, no matter your skill level, your ability, your interests. Those can change from month to month, right? But I think it's always great to just take a few moments to pause, kind of set everything aside, and think about what you want to work on. And one other reminder, this isn't about giving yourself an assignment that you might not achieve, or giving yourself some really ambitious goals that might be kind of hard to achieve in the next 30 days, or next 2 weeks if we're looking at the month of September. So I want you to keep in mind that this is just a way to give yourself some reminders, but also a way to be kind to yourself. So I want you to think about what you want to achieve and what you want to improve in this next couple weeks, but I also want you to keep it manageable and realistic. So, maybe a goal of making 50 paintings in the next month is kind of ambitious and kind of a lot of work and pressure to put on yourself. But maybe perhaps changing that or modifying that goal to make a certain number of paintings each week, or work on your painting skills once a day, whether that's for 10 minutes or for an hour. It's up to you. So I just want you to think about your goals in terms of ways that you can measure progress for yourself, and also things that keep you inspired. So for some folks, it's, like I said, it's a quote that kind of keeps you going and keeps you wanting to create art. For others, it might be inspiration to work on a new medium or try a new art tool. I've seen other students use this creative manifesto as a way to dig out their old art supplies. So some people might say something along the lines of, I want to use one tool that I can't stand every week. So for me, that would be like going back to my art drawers and finding Vine charcoal and drawing with charcoal. Even when I really don't like charcoal, that might teach me something. And it's material that I have on hand and I should probably use up because it's been in my drawer for a few years now. So that's another way to think about it. It's completely up to you. And for those of you just popping in, I see so many more folks joining, which is fantastic. We've got Linda, a couple Lindas popping in, Kathy, Annalie, Catherine, Jan is here, Gail is here, and Hillary from New Mexico. So for those of you just joining, before I set a timer for us all to work together, I want you to get out a sketchbook, something to draw on or write on. It could be a Post-it note, it could be a notepad, but it'd be great if it's your sketchbook that you've been working in, if you have one. And then I want you to grab a pen, something to write with. And there's a couple ways to do this in your sketchbook, and different artists like to do this in different ways. Some artists like to pick a page and then they mark that page, whether they dog-ear it or stick a bookmark in it so that they can always return to it. So you can pick the next page in your sketchbook, the next blank page, and work from there. Or you can actually kind of grab a chunk of empty pages, turn to maybe 10 pages from now, 15 pages from now in your sketchbook, and put this reminder on that random page. And the reason that this is kind of fun is that you'll, after this session, go back to your normal daily drawing or weekly drawing, and you'll kind of forget about it. And then a couple weeks will go by, or a couple days, depending on how much you're drawing, and that creative manifesto will kind of surprise you. So you'll turn the page, and then you'll see that reminder there in front of you. So that can be kind of a fun surprise and way to keep this kind of like a future letter to yourself, or just a reminder to your future self. So however you want to do it, you can work on the next page in your sketchbook, or you can grab a page that's later on and go ahead and work from there. So I want you to focus on just writing out whatever your theme is, or your quote, or your mantra for the month. And you can also, like I said, make that a list of things that you want to do, very specific things. So we can start with some writing, And I hope that you'll revisit these and come back to it, add some color, embellish them. I'm going to go back to Hera's example because it's so beautiful. So she went back in and added some lettering and some watercolor. So this will be a short session where I'm going to set a timer for us to just jot down these ideas. But I hope that you'll come back to it, and I hope that you will embellish it a little bit and make it a page that you want to look at. You want to return to it because hopefully it makes you happy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a timer for us to do this together. And I do these every month in my sketchbooks, and I love kind of turning the page and finding them a few weeks later. It makes me really happy. So I'm going to set a timer. Whoops, it always happens. I'm going to set a timer for 4 minutes. And what I want you to do is grab your sketchbook, grab something to draw with, and we are just going to write out these creative goals and this manifesto for the month. So I'm going to go ahead and start our timer. And as you finish this, feel free to share what some of your goals are in the chat. I would love to hear what you all are going to be focusing on. But our timer has officially started. So if you are just joining, right now I want you to take these few minutes and I want you to pick a page in your sketchbook or pick the next page. And I want you to just write yourself some reminders. And I think these are really fun to come back to, fun to remind yourself, what are the things that are important to you that you want to focus on. So let's just do that for a few minutes in our sketchbook. And, I often like doing these on a page, and then once I arrive at that page for my daily drawing, I'll, try to add a little illustration to it, or see if my drawing for that day kind of ties into that goal that I set for myself. So that's what I'm going to do. I've skipped a bunch of pages in my sketchbook, and that's what I'm going to focus on right now. So a little reminder to my future self. But as I said, you can make this about a theme. It can be one word that you want to focus on for the month, or it can be a more detailed list of things that you want to accomplish. And I often find it's hard to talk and write, so I might mess up some of my words, but I'll remember this time that we shared together, and I will look back on it fondly, even if it's not perfect. And I think that's a really great theme for all of us in our creative practice, is that it doesn't have to be perfect, right? So getting it done and down on paper is more important than making it a perfect masterpiece. I think this applies to our drawings, and this also applies to the goals that we set. So it's good to just have something to strive and work towards. That's my opinion. So whatever you're kind of formulating right now, I just want you to put that down on paper. And as I said, this can be in your sketchbook. Some people like to do it on a Post-it note that they then hang above their desk. It's totally up to you how you want to approach it. But at any rate, it is always good to just think about what you want to improve on. I think that's a good way to approach our creative practice, and a good way to approach life too. And that's another thing. I love that some of these mantras and philosophies can apply to your life, right? They don't just have to live in the pages of your sketchbook, but they can really apply to your lifestyle. And I love when those things kind of converge, I love seeing parallels between your creative practice and your daily life. I think that's really fun to see where those can overlap. And I think that it's really fun to be a creative person and make all these connections on a daily basis. I think that we're so lucky to be able to do that, right? So I'm finishing up my little reminder to myself. And because I've been yammering on, mine's not going to be as embellished and pretty as probably some of the ones that you guys are going to make. But this will be my start. I'm just going to leave this as a note to myself. And I hope that you'll share this with us, whether it's on social media. You can tag Sketchbook School with your goals for the month, or you can share it in the schoolyard if you're a member there of our community. We have a topic for creative manifestos. And I love seeing what people focus on for the month, and I love when they come back a month later and say, oh, this is what I did, or this is something I struggled with. Maybe I need to regroup and refocus. And I can't wait to see. I see you guys are sharing some stuff in the chat, which I would love to share here. So it looks like you guys are focusing on a lot of great things. So Gail is going to focus on drawing people. So she's working on our People Drawing People course, which is an awesome way to improve your people drawing skills. Excellent, Gail. And there is our timer. As I said, I hope that you'll keep working on these. It looks like Anne wants to get back to doing art every day, daily sketchbook school. I love that goal, and that's something that I strive for, all the time. And Jan is going to be using a quote. A year from now, you will wish you started today. And I think that's great because that applies to art, but it also applies to other stuff in your life. So Jan, I really like that reminder because I think that can apply to all sorts of habits that might bring us a little more quality of life. Whether it's drawing and being creative or moving your body, going for a walk every day. I love that, Jan. That's great. So for me, I just left a note to myself to get it down on paper no matter what. So I'll explain that. Lately, I struggle with wanting to capture memories or things that I do on a daily basis that involve people, but I'm terrible at drawing people. So I might skip over those memories. Like, I'm not going to draw my husband and I on a bike ride because I can't draw bikes. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to want that memory a year from now, no matter what. So getting it down on paper, no matter what the subject is one of my goals. And it looks like Gina is going to be staying off Facebook, which is a good goal to kind of get off that social media loop. That's a hard thing to get away from, and it really improves your quality of life when you do. So Gina, good luck. Anna is celebrating a birthday tomorrow. Happy early birthday to Anna. She's going to work on flowers, decoration, and family themes that have come up. So I love that this is timed so that Anna's got a birthday right around the corner, because I think birthdays are a great time to kind of reflect on what you've done and what you want to do with the remainder of your years on this planet. I think that's a great way to think about it. Mary is going to focus on shadows and color, rust and silver. So it kind of sounds like Mary's going to be focusing on subjects that I'm thinking of like old cars, but that might not be what Mary's going after. But focusing on shadow and color. Looks like Stephanie's just popping in, and she wants to focus on a self-portrait. Yeah, self-portraits are great because you're probably your most reliable model, right? And I think that's a perfect time to practice that. Let's see. Karen is going to keep sketching and spinning, so I think we've got a fiber artist in our midst, which is awesome. Yeah, and it looks like Karen Moore also has a birthday next week. So we've got all these Virgos in the room, these September birthdays. I love it. Catherine has a short-term goal of finishing a boot camp course and then starting another one right away. I love that Catherine is on a boot camp kick. I know we've been corresponding via email about that, Catherine. And I love that she is just sticking with it and practicing. It's so fantastic. Linda wants to do a drawing a day, which is an awesome goal. Heather says she's struggling with self-esteem and it's a birthday month, but she has few to celebrate with. Heather, I just had a birthday a month ago, and I have to say pandemic birthdays are no fun for anybody. So I think if you just find a way to make it special for yourself. For my birthday, I was just hanging out with my husband, and we just ate all my favorite foods and hung out at home and made the best of it. So I hope that you can too. Holly is going to finish a watercolor on location course, and then maybe revisit an old sketchbook school course. And that's one of the great things about our courses being available for lifetime access. You can always dive back into them. So Holly, I hope you have a blast with that. It appears I might have messed up did I mess up my astrology signs? I'm noticing Virgos and then someone mentioning a Libra, so apologies about that if I goofed that up. Looks like Kathy has an awesome goal to go to Draw With Me each week, and that's a perfect time to just pencil in 45 minutes of your day of a week to draw with Danny, and that's awesome. Those are on Thursdays at 12 Eastern for those of you that have never joined them before. I encourage you to check it out. He usually comes armed with a subject for you that's entertaining, to say the least. So that's a great time to draw together. It also looks like Samia is having a birthday today, so we've got lots of birthdays, which is great. But thank you all for tuning in today and joining me for this Creative Manifesto session. I appreciate you adjusting to the schedule and joining mid-month. I know that's kind of funky, but we will be back on the first Monday of the month next month for October, which is like 2 weeks away, which is insane to me. But I hope that you all have an excellent rest of your month and that you really work on these goals, but also don't put too much pressure on yourself. Like, be kind to yourself, right? But have an awesome rest of your month, and we'll see all of you around in the schoolyard. We'll see you at Draw With Me, and I hope that you'll join us. And to all of our birthday pals here today, okay, late September is Libra. Yes, good correction. So to all the Virgos and Libras, happy birthday and have a great rest of your week, your month, and we'll see you right back here in a couple weeks. Thanks, everybody.